Hi everyone. So in this video, I'm going to talk a bit about the information I've come across in terms of the protections and shielding. So when I first got the sleep disturbance, I was in a frenzy, like perhaps many people are when that happens, and I was desperately begging people for financial help to get materials. I didn't get any financial help, but one person did say that they thought there could be no way I would ever be able to out tech their military grade technology. At the time, I didn't really care about that because I was desperate to sleep and I knew that I needed to be protected. So I spent a lot of time researching materials. The first material I came across was copper mesh. I later discovered that had been mentioned in the film called Control Factor, and that was a film directly on the issue. I also came across sheets of metal and a Faraday cage. So my observations, firstly on the Faraday cage, I looked into the technology aspect of it. I am not able to say whether the Faraday cage is able to block the technology that is being used, because we know that the Faraday cage blocks certain technologies, but we don't know how extensive, if it's also going to block the types of technology and waves and things that they use. I would have thought, however, that if a Faraday cage is going to be of use, it would have to be university grade, at least. And I'm not sure how how easy it would be to use that to protect ourselves. Because I mean, for example, if we did build the Faraday cage, they could easily just switch up the volume on the technology. So it could be that they use the same technology but in a stronger way, and it would be very difficult to to match the advanced nature of their technology with basic level precautions. I also mentioned that the film Control Factor, in terms of the copper mesh, while the technology regarding the copper mesh seemed sound, again, I'm not sure that we could even buy or construct a structure made of copper that would be sufficient to block out the strength of their waves and the strength of their technology. I watched a documentary on World War II. I've watched many documentaries, and one of the documentaries discussed Hitler's bunker in the late stages of the war, because he had become very paranoid that he would be bombed at some point in the late stages of the war. So he built a massive bunker, and his walls were just literally meters thick of concrete. And I think, given the state of today's technology, we would need, at least a building with meters thick walls, perhaps of metal, and perhaps even as well as concrete, to perhaps block out different types of waves, or the way that these waves can work together. I think that we'd have to make use of a number of the Earth's natural resources. For example, it would have to be deep in the ground, perhaps. It may have to have some kind of magnetic current applied as well to, I mean, these, I don't know, these are suggestions, but it just seems that this type of protection would need to be built and paid for by the United Nations. If we're going to ever get protection from military grade technology, if this is not technology that you can buy off eBay, that would be quite easy to shield, and then we could just buy perhaps a mesh canopy, and those things are okay for ordinary use. But when we're talking about military agencies and official state bodies who are misusing this technology that has been designed for real combat situations and real sort of, war situations, we are going to need something, something solid, with, and permanent, and something that can, ensure protection for people, in case, these people try to go to a further stage of their misuse of technology. But saying all that now, you can see how futile something like Q-Wave would be, or pendants, or sort of semi-precious stones, which a lot of websites have been trying to sell, and a lot of those websites have seemed very suspect indeed. It's very important not to waste your money on things like pendants or stones to protect against their technology, when it's quite clear that we're probably going to need some kind of military bunker. If, of course, we don't get it stopped beforehand through the legal means. But it's also important, for example, not to tell other people that Q-Wave has worked if, for example, you switch on this plastic box, which is about, 5 or 10 centimeters in diameter or something, with virtually nothing in it. And then once you switch on that box, they cunningly decide to stop their activities for a while. And that makes you draw a false association between this plastic box and their military grade technology. And then you go around saying that a plastic box has protected you from advanced technology that even Hitler had to, was concerned about, building concrete walls, how many decades ago. So in terms of protections, there's just a few other ways of looking at it as well. And of course, our great protection is us working as much as we are and working together. And let's keep doing that. And let's keep trying to get better at how we're tackling this. And I think that we're doing really well in that respect. And I've been definitely inspired. Another aspect that I think we should start to think about is addressing their deviant psychology, because these are a collection of deviants, different types of deviants, but they all share these deviant traits. Deviance is developed in the human kind through nature and through nurture. Some people are just born differently, but so much is learning and culture. And it's quite clear that these people have not been raised well. They have not been taught proper social behaviours, and they need to learn them very quickly. And one of the best ways is by watching other people and having those role models and having, that opportunity to learn a new skill. And I think that we can play a very important role in that, in practicing quality behaviours, so they can see for themselves and they can keep seeing and keep repeating that learning experience, what it means to restrict one's behaviour in consideration of another person's feelings. Because their human connection with the rest of humanity has been massively damaged. They have had many years where they have been looking at humanity from a macro perspective, seeing, hundreds of thousands of people die. These people may have been growing up seeing their older relatives, their parents, deciding to go to war, or deciding to declare wars, covertly, or things like that. How on earth have these people been able to develop empathy? And they haven't been able to. They have never had proper ethical instruction. So I think it's really important for us to start demonstrating what it means to care and feel about another human being, even if there is no immediate personal benefit. Wishing you all the best as usual.